The morning sun glared off the hood of Michael's vintage Chevy, the car he loved more than almost anything else. But his pride turned to disbelief when he saw the bright orange HOA violation sticker slapped on his windshield. Unauthorized vehicle must be moved immediately or fined. His jaw tightened. This wasn't just any car parked on the street, this was his car, on the very road he had every right to use, but the HOA president, Karen, stood nearby with folded arms, watching him like a hawk. Rules are rules, she barked, her voice sharp. No overnight parking allowed. Move it or face daily fines. Michael clenched the notice in his fist, his patience thinning. She thought he was just another powerless homeowner at her mercy. What Karen didn't know was the street she was standing on wasn't under her authority at all. It belonged to Michael. And in time, that truth would flip the entire neighborhood upside down. He stayed calm, giving her only a small, knowing smile. You sure you want to pick this fight? He asked quietly. Karen scoffed. Try me. Little did she realize, the fight she had just started would uncover a secret that no one in the neighborhood saw coming, one that would shake the HOA to its core, and with that, the battle lines were drawn. Karen wasn't bluffing. By the next morning, Michael found 3 more notices stuffed under his windshield wipers, each threatening escalating fines. Worse, a formal letter had arrived in his mailbox demanding $500 for repeat violations. Michael sighed, leaning against the car's hood, staring at the street that stretched out before him. This wasn't just about money anymore, neighbors whispered as they passed by, some shaking their heads, others giving Karen approving nods. She was used to running things, intimidating homeowners, bending rules to her will, and making herself queen of the block. Michael watched her smug smile as she paraded by, clipboard in hand. Pay up or tow truck comes tomorrow. She said sweetly, as though she had already won. Michael just smirked. If only she knew. He pulled an old folder from his office desk that evening, one he hadn't touched in years. Inside was a single deed, stamped, notarized, and signed. It wasn't just for his house. It was for the entire strip of land the street sat on. Every inch of asphalt, sidewalk, and curb belonged to him. Tomorrow, Karen would see that the ground she was standing on and the very road she claimed to police wasn't hers to command. But first, Michael needed a plan. The next morning, Michael woke to the sound of heavy chains clanking outside. A tow truck had reversed into the street, its driver preparing to hook his beloved Chevy. Karen stood proudly on the curb, arms crossed, barking orders like a general. This car is an eyesore. She shouted for everyone to hear. It violates HOA Code Section 5.1.2. Today it's gone. Neighbors gathered on porches, some curious, others too afraid to intervene. Michael stepped outside slowly, a calm expression masking the storm inside him. He approached the tow truck driver and asked politely, "Do you have permission to tow a car off private property?" The driver frowned. The HOA ordered it. Michael pulled a folded paper from his jacket and handed it to the driver. His voice was steady. This isn't HOA property. This entire street is mine. And if you put one scratch on that car, you'll be trespassing. The driver scanned the document, his eyes widening. Wait, you own the street? Karen laughed nervously. Don't believe him. That's nonsense. Hook it up now. But the driver shook his head, backing away. Sorry, lady. I'm not touching this. If he owns it, I'm not risking my license. The crowd gasped, whispers spreading like wildfire. For the first time, Karen's confidence faltered, but Michael wasn't done proving his point. Word spread quickly after the standoff. By the end of the week, the HOA board scheduled an emergency meeting in the clubhouse, demanding Michael explain himself. The room buzzed with tension as neighbors filled every chair. Karen sat at the front like a judge, papers stacked in front of her. You're disrupting the harmony of this community, she sneered as Michael walked in. Fabricating ownership to escape the rules. Michael calmly placed his folder on the table and pulled out the deed. Not fabricated. Recorded in the county registry since 1984. The developer sold this road, along with the adjacent land, directly to my father. When he passed, it came to me. Gasps echoed through the room. One board member leaned forward, squinting at the document. If this is true, then technically, none of our rules apply to this street. Karen's face turned red. That can't be right. But Michael wasn't finished. You fined me thousands of dollars for parking on my own property. You threatened to tow my car illegally. And you've been abusing your power over everyone here. Well, now the truth is out. The room erupted in whispers. For once, Karen had no snappy comeback. Karen doubled down, sending Michael legal threats, claiming the deed was invalid and accusing him of forgery. Flyers appeared in mailboxes painting him as a liar and a troublemaker. Yet the more she fought, the more suspicious the neighbors became. Michael, however, remained calm. He invited a county official to survey the land and confirm the truth. The results were undeniable. The HOA had no authority over his street. Karen exploded at the news. "You can't embarrass me like this," she screamed during a board meeting, her voice trembling with fury. But her carefully built image of control was crumbling. Neighbors began approaching Michael quietly, thanking him for standing up. Some even confessed they, too, had been unfairly fined and harassed by the HOA. The power dynamic was shifting, and Karen knew it. But she had one last card to play, a lawsuit. Michael braced himself for the final battle. The courtroom was packed the day of the hearing. Karen strutted in with her lawyer, confident she could crush Michael under legal pressure. She accused him of fraud, demanded fines, and even sought control over the street. Michael's attorney stood calmly and presented the deed, backed by county records and decades of tax receipts showing Michael had paid for the land year after year. The judge raised an eyebrow. "So the HOA has been fining a man for parking on property he owns?" Karen stammered, trying to twist the narrative, but it was too late. The evidence was overwhelming. The judge's gavel came down firmly. Case dismissed. HOA to reimburse all fines and cover court costs. The courtroom gasped. Michael had not only won, but Karen and the HOA were now on the hook for thousands. Her face turned pale as neighbors whispered all around her, and yet, Michael wasn't finished delivering the ultimate blow. Weeks later, Michael stood on his porch, gazing down the peaceful street. Life had calmed, but his victory was far from just personal. He had filed paperwork officially marking the street as private property, under his full control. From now on, the HOA could never touch it again. At the next neighborhood gathering, Michael made an announcement. "This street doesn't belong to the HOA. It belongs to me. And as long as I own it, you'll never be harassed for where you park, what flowers you plant, or how you live." The crowd erupted in applause, grateful that someone had finally broken Karen's grip. Karen herself stood in the back, speechless, her reign officially over. Michael smiled to himself. All it took was one orange sticker to unravel years of abuse. The HOA had tried to bully him, but in the end, the truth was simple: you can't enforce rules on land you don't own, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.